Okay, welcome back everyone to our actually last episode of Course Hacks for Higher Ed of the semester. With me, as always, we have Associate Professor Brian Dewsbury of Biological Sciences and Assistant Dean Michelle Fonts of Diversity Recruitment and Retention Student Initiatives. Did I get it right this time?
It's so funny. Never. Don't worry about it.
Not even one time.
I mess it up. So here's
No evaluation. Okay.
so it's supposed to be diversity, retention, and student success initiatives. But I mess it up too now, so please don't feel bad.
I feel bad. It's just going to happen. So our topic for today is reflection. It has been a long road since September. It has been a stressful semester, to say the least. But my first instinct as an undergrad at the end of the semester was just to say, peace, bye. Not thinking about this anymore, shutting it out. Maybe never thinking about it again. But that didn't serve me that well, honestly. And I think that we can offer a better way to take with us and learn from the semester and looking forward to the next semester. So it's certainly not something I recommend doing anymore to any of my students. So I'm always talking about reflective exercises, what worked for you, what served you, what didn't. And I'm wondering what advice that you give to students in this area, because yes, we're all ready for a break. We have finals coming up this week, and then I'm sure students want to wrap it all up. But what can you offer in terms of advice for reflection and really, lessons learned moving forward from this new type of learning we've all had to participate in, which is Zoom courses, hybrid courses, online, synchronous, asynchronous, all that.
You want me to go first, Brian?
As usual.
Okay. The biggest advice that I have been giving students and myself, I try my best to give the same advice that I'm going to try to take for myself, because we all need to do it right now, is despite the fact that, yes, we need to check out because it's been a lot. I'm definitely looking at my vacation time and making sure I take a good block because it has been a lot. So I want people to rest and relax. But I also know that this was a very stressful semester for a lot of our students because of just the change in connection, right? And having to be online and having to do things in a different way they ever have. So one of the biggest things I talk about right now is what can you do to prepare and what can you control, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean that, yes, you need some time, check out for a week and a half is cool. But there's a few things that are happening right now in the world. You don't really know what spring semester is going to look like. You don't. But what you can do is you can plan to your best ability. Make sure you register for the classes that you know that you'll be able to the best of your ability, be able to still be challenged, but get it done, right? So I don't want you taking 4 of your most challenging classes in the spring. I just don't want you to do that. I want you to have balance, because if you are struggling with not being in person and you're struggling with being at home, make it manageable for yourself, right? And so you see where your struggles were, where your successes were, and also knowing that it's a different learning environment. You may have some hybrid courses next semester. You might have the good fortune of having a couple in person. We just don't know for sure. So you almost need to have a plan A, plan B, right? A, if it goes this way, B, if it goes this way. So a lot of students that I'm working with right now, I'm asking them to think about the things that they can control and to plan for them early and not wait, because that drives anxiety up really high if you don't have a plan, no plan. And I've gotten really good feedback from students that say, you know what, I see that you're right about that. And, yeah, we're going to go celebrate the holiday. But after the first of the year, we need to figure out what our plan is financially, for class, where I'm going to go to study. Like, they need to be thinking about these things because it's a different world. So in reflection for myself, even to really think about, what do you want spring semester to look like for yourself in the things you can control? So that would be my message.
That's a lot to process there and unpack.
Well, I mean, maybe that's part of the point, right? To give yourself that time to process all of that and unpack. So I will say something similar and maybe even build on it. And quite frankly, I hope that the advice I'm about to give is advice that you don't just take with you for the next semester, but you take with you for the rest of your life. You have to be able and be willing to do a complete forensic analysis on the last 4 months. I know I made it sound super technical, but what I mean is you look at those 3 months and you ask yourself, why wasn't that B and A? Why wasn't that 75 out of 100, 89 out of 100? Why, when you look back and you say, oh, I didn't get as much time to put into this particular class, why is that? Because I think what happens, the way college is structured, and this is unfortunate, it gets temporally compartmentalized. There's this sense in which something starts in September, ends in December, and then that's done. And then January comes and that starts a new, kind of, sort of, maybe. But in reality, you have a 4 to 6 year curriculum. And as you grow through this, the growth only happens if you look back and identify the things from which you know you can do better. So, it may not have worked out perfectly, right? You may have gotten a B minus or a B plus instead of that A, but that B plus only turns into an A in the next class if you sit and ask yourself, why wasn't that B plus an A? And if you don't do something, actually significantly different, then you can find yourself either repeating the same mistakes or using the same bad strategy, but just doing it 10 times harder. So the analysis you put yourself through, and it doesn't have to be a painful one, it's really just kind of a systematic, like break everything down, right? That's what's going to lead to the behavior change. And I say this is not about classes, my friend. This is life, right? I'm a professor. Like every year I look at my portfolio, I look at the papers I wanted to write, I look at the projects I've started, I look at the feedback I get on grants, on submissions. Like you get critique, good or bad, for the rest of your professional life. So unless you have the mentality where you are able to take that critique and take that feedback and know how to do better with it, then you can find yourself sort of circling around the same bad, academic behavior patterns. So, get some sleep, right? Get some, unplug, take your email off for a while. But as cheesy as it sounds, find a nice place you could just go for a long walk, or a place where you can be undisturbed, a place where you have a notebook, you can actually physically write something down and ask yourself the question, what can be better? I give my students, so I teach first year students, as you all know, a reflection assignment at the end of the semester. And I actually think it's an assignment you should just do regardless, right? It's called Letter to a Future First Year Student. And they have to write a 1-page letter to a hypothetical future first year student based on their experience. So based on their experience in my class and at URI, what would you advise that student to do to be successful? So in other words, reflect on your successes, reflect on the things that didn't go as well, and use that to provide advice. You do the same. You'll be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's a great assignment, really, for anyone, in any stage, just to be able to really think about. It almost helps to put it as somebody else rather than yourself, right? Like, I'm going to give someone the next generation advice. Mm-hmm. So thank you both for that. That's excellent. I wonder with the reflection, because I do this too with my classes where we do wrappers around exams. How many hours did you study? What kind of techniques did you use to study? And then taking and saying, did that work? Did you get the grade that you wanted? Mm-hmm. What kind of advice do you give to students? Because some of them will just get the feedback of that letter at the end of the semester, A, B, C, whatever it is. And that's their feedback.
Right.
How do you deconstruct that as feedback for what you did? It's so much packed into one, really literally one letter.
Right. What you're speaking to is a little bit of the pedagogy, right? And those of us who teach classrooms need to do better at giving feedback that is beyond the letter grade. And I think that is not something that should happen at the end of the semester. That is kind of a dialogue, as Paulo Freire would say, that's a dialogue that happens throughout the course of the semester. So by the time the end of the semester comes, whichever way it goes, there is some articulation from the professor, from the instructor, on what that student's academic experience was like in the course. Now, that being said, I know as Michelle will quickly point out, not every professor might be as explicit, as intentional about this kind of thing. So, I guess my course hack to our listeners, is to be proactive and reach out to the people from whom you took those classes, right? I understand this is not the grade I wanted. Is there any feedback you are willing to provide based on your knowledge of my work and the work that I've produced in the classroom? That's an option very much available to you as a tuition-paying student. Right?
I would welcome that. I have to be honest, and I don't know if this is because I give feedback all along, but I have never gotten an email like that where a student asks, well, okay, this is the grade that I got. What could I have done to change that?
It's the fear. I don't know how to take the brain and move it around. There is a fear that they have. They just, I don't want to. Why don't you? Well, that's the professor, and I think they feel vulnerable. Okay, I get that, but Brian, you just hit it. You're paying for it. So if you got a C and you don't know why you got a C and you want to learn, how else you going to do it if they didn't provide it? So it's critical, but more so than not, it doesn't happen. And that, I love that as a course hack. Y'all reach out to your faculty members and your advisors when something's awry or doesn't make sense, or you need to figure it out and be reflective and learn from it. If you don't get the feedback, that is a missed opportunity in your educational growth. It just is.
And I also think it's important for faculty and instructors to realize that feedback is only really helpful if it's specific. It really is not helpful to give general feedback. And this is something I wish that everyone had more training on, is really effective ways to give feedback. Because if it's too general, then it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Because I've gotten positive general feedback before where it's like, oh, you did great, but I don't know what I did well. And so it's just kind of magic. Like, okay, I did well, but how do I recreate that? So like you were saying,
diversity
Brian,
committee. I think that's something we should do in the spring.
Yeah. So I think it's important that, if you're going to give feedback, that it be specific. And if it's going to be, and it be constructive. It can be positive, but it should also still be specific. Because general feedback is general feedback that's negative, you don't really even know what you did wrong. It's just not helpful at all.
Now, if I may add, because a lot of what we're talking about in the last, say, 5 to 6 minutes is about academic performance, how they've done in their classes, which is important. But I don't want to ignore the social aspect of their experience. I know we're in a pandemic, and so that aspect was probably stymied for most people this semester, which is unfortunate. But assuming that we'll go back to some a fairly regular in-person situation sometime in the future, part of your college experience is what you find out about yourself socially, who you've met, what groups you've aligned with, how you've made friends, lost friends, who you still connected with from high school, or your connection with your family. And there is a transition process associated with navigating those relationships that, quite frankly, could be as difficult as transitioning to college level classes as an academic endeavor. All right. And many of the students that I advise, it's not that they can't do the work, but it's feeling like a low sense of belonging. It's feeling like you don't have your crew. It's feeling like you're not identifying as a scientist. So you have friends, but then they make different decisions. Like, I don't want to be dismissive of that at all. So I guess I want to urge you in your reflection to put all that on the table, right? Put all that on the table. Or you thought you could, go partying every single weekend and put all of that on the table, all right? Every decision gets reflected on, because all of that really comes together to make your college experience successful. So.
And can I just add now what you said is really a good email. And I just want to put that out there to students. that may be listening to us. When we talk about get feedback from faculty members, your actual professors, to say pretty much what you said and just say, I just want, to reflect. I got this particular grade and I want to know specifically in my case, what did you see as, the gaps? That's crucial information right there, because you're right. General, you didn't turn in 5 assignments. Okay. But with the work that I did perform, to ask those questions, students are very intimidated to do that. And I think that's an easy email to just say, I just want to learn from my mistakes. Right. So I just wanted to highlight that, but go ahead, Nell, you were about to say something. I interrupted you, I think.
No, I think these are great comments. Even for myself at the end of this semester, I'm reflecting, right? I'm always trying to improve my courses. And this is what student feedback is all about at the end of the semester as well. But, reflecting on, like you were both saying, it's not just the academics part. It's how is this whole situation working for me? What can I improve to make it so that it is less of a stress and more of something I enjoy? I've worked very hard this semester to make it so that I look forward to class. I look forward to preparing for class, and that's what I want for the students as well. That their courses, I think we started this whole course has things by saying it should be fun. It should be fun. You should want to go to class. You should enjoy this. This is supposed to be a period of intense growth and excitement, and really an opportunity for your mind to just, expand. And that should be fun. And if it's not fun, that's valid to express that. This was not fun, because that's information that's useful. For me, if something that I'm doing is not fun, I don't want to do it anymore. So I have to find a way to make it fun. And I think we devalue fun as a motivator for higher ed in general. It should be fun. The end. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
The end. Make it fun. No, but when we talk about reflection, I think all of what we talked about is a good kind of just piece to walk away from. Reflection, just think about what just happened, all of it, where you now live, how you've had to do classes. Think about it. And how cool would it be if you just journaled out that stuff and look at what you learned, because it was learning, whether it was good or bad learning, and what are the things that were real detrimental, and how can you fill that gap for yourself in the best way you possibly can to have a better spring and to feel like you're moving forward no matter what. So I think that's very sound advice. And I'm going to do it as well, because it's important right now for us to do that for each other and help our students to do it as well.
Well, I want to thank you. Oh, did you have a last thought before we wrap up?
With some parting words, because we're not going to record until 2021. So I want to just wish everybody a great break, a great restful break. And as we get ready for a new year, we have vaccines coming on stream, and we're hoping to turn the page on what's really been a tough time, I think, for the world. As you reflect, I do ask that you kind of keep in your thoughts and prayers the 300,000 people who perished from this. And I think sometimes the numbers are so high, we get emotion fatigue. But, Nell started this podcast and asked us to be a part of it because really, we are humanists at our core. We value humanity, and we care about humanity, and we care about the human condition in how we teach and how we advise. So in that spirit, I would like you to do the same and just consider that in your reflection. But a very, very happy holidays to you. Now I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you both. Honestly, thank you for this semester. I am so excited that we're going to be doing this again in the spring. I can't wait. If you want to add into the comments ideas for course hacks for the spring, questions that you have, anything you want us to cover, we're all about it. So definitely reach out to us, and have a safe and happy break to everyone. Thank you so much, Michelle, Brian, for doing this with me. It's been
absolutely. I wish you both all the.
We renegotiate my contract for this.
You're a mess.
I want to.
I'm gonna double your pay.
But listen, really, peace and love, everyone. Like, for real, it's been a journey, and I just hope that everybody can get some positivity and uplift during this break, for sure.
Awesome. All right, virtual hugs. Take care, everyone.